It looks like it's
Recording.
oh,
Yeah,
Okay, now
yeah.
there we
there we
go.
go. All right,
So,
guys. So, if this is not the first time you've attended, normally we call it a teacher lounge, but we're doing a little bit of rebranding here, and now it's called the Teacher Talk Live because we really want to get you guys to be the main objective in these meetings. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about setting goals and objectives while implementing an effective class structure. But again, we want to get your feedback, how you guys do this. We have some questions for you, so we really want to get it as much of a fluid conversation as possible. Just some of the topics, again, more in detail, what we'll be going over, the foundational questions, setting goals and objectives, some practical implementation, creating a class structure, the BBI 5 steps to a successful lesson, if any of you can answer that question. Learner-centered focus, because with language training, that is our main objective, and some intercultural competence, if possible. Okay? So let's start about goals and objectives and have a little chat on this part. I'm sorry, I'm sharing screen, so I can't see you guys, just FYI. What is the difference between a goal and an objective in the context of language training? Now, there's obviously no right or wrong answer here. It's really just to start a conversation. So does anybody have any ideas or opinions?
can the goal is fixed? Can an objective perhaps can change in the class? Would that be something? I don't know really.
Well, that's a thought. Let's
Hmm.
deepen it. Explain a little bit
Um,
more, Ben.
well, I mean, maybe you say, right, I have a goal. We're going to teach business futures, future English business, and future tenses. But when a conversation starts, now I'm talking about a one-to-one class, really. Most of my classes, I'm better at one-to-ones. So I might start out with the idea, okay, let's do future tenses. But it very much depends on the student. If suddenly the student comes up saying, "Well, I had to give a presentation last week and I had problems with connecting my phrases or whatever," then I think an objective can change in an instant. Whereas a goal, you need a goal before the lesson, but the objective can change. It doesn't have to be the same. Depending on what the student wants to tell you. As I say, this is very much a one-to-one,
Hmm.
based on a one-to-one class. But I'm very open in all my classes to change the objective. But you can only do that in the class.
Hmm.
It's good to have a goal before you start the class. That's what I would perhaps say.
Totally agree with that, where it's good to have kind of your goals and objectives established either before the class as the teacher, but also with to it to be organized with the students at the beginning of the course. So that is
Right.
clear as to the direction the course will be headed. That's a very interesting point of view, Ben. I didn't think of it that way.
Well,
Any other opinions or thoughts on the difference between a goal or an objective?
Heavy.
I'm looking at it as a goal being the communication to reach communicating and improving as much as we can in the language, English in this case. And the objectives are the steps we take every time we reach a certain level. I'm always finding it a bit difficult to set the objectives. And for me, is well, just trying to build up. It's like scaffolding. So I always
Hmm.
just try to go further up and put some little steps and reach further. So I might still need some work to be clear, to have the objectives, let's say, clear. But the goal for me and the target, it's clear. It's improving communication in the language
yeah.
we are teaching,
Hmm. Good.
Right.
I think.
It's like so in theory, then it's more like the goal is the end game and the objectives are
Yeah,
the
like
steps
long
to.
term. Hmm.
I like that too. That's another nice way of looking at
Yeah.
it because sometimes you need to focus more on the steps before the long end. And I think maybe sometimes students can get so caught up with the end goal, which might just be increasing or improving in one way or another, and they kind of lose sight that sometimes that requires these steps first.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
that's one of the main problems we have in some cultures, especially in Spain. I mean, they immediately come and say, "Oh, I'm really bad." No, no one is born speaking a language, or nobody walked the first day they were born or grew up in one day. So this is something I believe a lot in working in and trying to show them that, okay, it happens bit by bit, and unblock them, because that's one of the big problems. They get blocked. But with the
Mhm.
time, I think once they feel comfortable and trust the environment, it works, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Good.
Anybody else have any?
Yeah,
Mm?
I'm missing a little bit the context of both words, but for me they mean the same. But
Mm.
I think it makes more sense to talk about objectives, about short-term goals like
Mhm.
grammatic goals, sentences, themes, and
Mhm.
the overall goal will be the betterment, the increase of
Mhm.
language skills.
Definitely.
Totally, exactly. And I think that's pretty much what Nevi feels as well. And yeah, I mean, a goal and objectives are synonyms as well. So I mean, we can figure out the way to define them and separate them, but in the end, we are all in agreement that it's, the way that they need to improve, whether it be short term or long term. Absolutely. Let's see what we have next. How do you currently set goals for your classes? Are they more teacher driven or learner driven?
Learner driven, definitely. Definitely.
Mhm.
The one-to-one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one-to-one
Especially.
again, but sometimes when you're speaking to a student in a one-to-one, you say, "Aye, this guy made a few mistakes. Perhaps I didn't correct them in the moment." And you say, "Okay, next lesson we're going to do this. We're going to look at connectors. We're going to look at such and so and all these sorts of things, specific items." But generally, it's learner driven for
Mhm.
me.
Hmm.
Yeah, particularly with individual classes.
Yeah.
That's
That's a good
really the
point
case.
too. Does it change with a group or with an individual
Totally.
one-to-one course? Absolutely. That's a good point too.
Well, with a group, I think you have to, and if you have the blended course, I try to stick to the blended course as a well, a layout, no,
Mhm.
and then follow it and maybe go more profoundly in each topic. Try to go more profoundly in each topic so they get more information. Make sure they read it first. So it's completely, as Ben says, it's just completely one-to-ones are just another
Yeah,
bag of beans. No?
it's a different sort of teaching, really. As I say, well, I've given a number of classes in group, but I prefer one-to-one.
Mhm.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah. Same here. Mhm.
Yeah, Mar, you kind of touched upon the next question here. So how does an institutional curriculum, meaning how does a set syllabus or program like the blended courses interfere with this? So then it's really, yeah, having to kind of combine two programs and making it into one. What does the level need and what do the students need? So seems like most of us feel we prioritize the students' needs, no?
Yeah, well, for me, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Different if they were like for me, a goal would be if you have you want to you have an exam and another type of student completely different, not
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a very specific goal.
exactly.
Mm.
Of course. Okay. What is the process for BBI? Does anybody know?
Mhm.
Well,
We
it's
To
do it at
totally
least.
organize the
different.
classes, right?
Uh,
Make the connections to the companies and set
Yeah.
up like a framework of pedagogics, of education, of level, like a controlling agency to control the
Mm,
teachers a little bit, the quality of the classes.
mm. Yeah. So with Peter and Amy, you guys are actually located in one of our clients that's a little bit different because we provide you with the course program, uh, having it be at a university and it's already planned. But with our more business clients, what is the process that we usually implement and how do you usually do it?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. Um,
That's why we're talking about it. No, I'm
yeah,
joking.
it's good. I don't know. I mean, I have this new student from Telefonica. Apparently, she's had a number of different teachers just recently, and I'm a little nervous about this.
That's a lot of pressure on you.
So, how long am I going to last? But I think in this instance, yes, I've read very much her history, what she wants. She's done a lot of writing in university and the English education she received when she was younger. So it always comes down to these people want to talk, want to be able to talk, want to be able to communicate. And that is initially my objective with her. I've seen that she likes the flipped classes. She likes it. I mean, first I've got to meet her so I know what she wants. But I'm thinking I've got to take a little more time over this girl. So just prepare a little more. My classes this morning, for example, conversation 100%. Both students, I've been with them for I don't know, since before pandemic.
Wow.
And they both have told me that no, I do not send me homework. Do not because I won't do it. I want to talk, and the process is slower to raise the level of English, but it's conversation. I feel guilty when I create a new worksheet and I put conversation.
Yeah, this is something that comes up from time to time in the surveys that we have, that sometimes students, it might not be the case with these particular students because they know what they want, but
Yes.
sometimes they feel that there's some lack of structure or some lack, and probably there isn't, because perhaps you have a clear idea of what you're going to be doing in your classes, or decided, okay, we'll be talking about this, and you deal with error correction and you deal with, but sometimes it's also how we communicate that to us. Like perhaps we need to be more obvious about the steps we follow or the objectives that we have for that particular class. And so it's like more like the kind of meta language that we use that sometimes we avoid because we feel that perhaps it sounds boring to them, or it's going to make it like too classroom type of school language thing. And but that gives them the idea that we plan the class, that we are following a plan. So this plan will be these objectives and goals that we set at the beginning in these first two classes. So depending on your on whether it's groups or it's individual classes, as is the case of this student that you just got, in that case we have a very specific needs analysis before the class, so you might get a lot more information. Normally we get the group level or the students level after a language assessment process. So your training manager will normally communicate this to you, and we will send you like a template set of goals and objectives where you can have a look at that and choose from there, because perhaps you're not going to have time during the hours that you're going to have with this group, that perhaps is 14 hours, 20 hours, 24, whatever. If it's going to be 3 months or 6 months. And then together with your students, you can decide, okay, so what are we going to be focusing on? And then the idea is that later you share that with your students so that, and you can post it in, we have a section in the courses where you can post what you've decided you're going to be doing. And from time to time, you can go back and review and say, okay, listen, guys, this is what we've already done. Is there anything else that you would like to add, or shall we perhaps skip this one and add this other one? So is this something that you normally do with them, that like go back from time to time and say, assess what you've done, what you would like to change?
Yeah, not really for the two Securitas guys, no. But I do like the phrase you mentioned. What do you want to focus on today? Because these conversation classes sometimes, you know, we talk about Atleti against Real Madrid, or football, or sports, or business.
Cars.
Well,
Cars.
Cars.
Cars. What cars?
I know
Driving?
so much about cars, you wouldn't believe.
Really?
Really?
From
But,
my students, I mean, I'm.
Yeah.
but are those car manufacturers, or why is it that
they're
no?
hobbies, they're hobbies, they're
Ah,
hobbies. I have to say something though, that what I do with that type of, like, that some students one-to-one, they, of course, they're CEOs, they have a high, they take over a bit, but then I always, even if like Ben says, if it sidetracks, I always try to bring it back to some business language that they will be able to subtract from there, take from there. Like, look for key
Yeah.
words, or go ahead.
Yeah. No, it's true. The
I
problem with
like-
these two. Sorry, carry on, Peter. My apologies.
No. My problem in the university, I was not teaching in TBS for some years, maybe 5 years, and I mean the ability to concentrate, to motivate internally decreased over time, right? So now they don't have even a pencil in class. I have to bring the pencils. They don't have papers. They write in their computers. I bring copies. Sometimes the copies are not the correct ones, which is TBS doing. And the technical supply, the shared screen, sometimes is not working. So, and the students are basically only 50% there. And in the beginning, because they always withdraw to the telephones, to the computer, sometimes they play chess. I say, are you winning or losing? I mean, the problem for me is with the students, younger students, different than in companies where adults coming to the class because they need to. It's a difference between external motivation and internal motivation. Only few students have an internal motivation. They have parts of their family, or they want to go to Germany, or they have a German girlfriend, whatever. The rest are doing German for external reasons. They have to do another class, and Chinese is too difficult. And I always say that's not enough. You have to put some energy into it. And for this generation, seemingly the old one talking about the young, complaining about the young, it's more difficult, right, to focus on something without real pressure, without a kick in the ass. And that's, I don't want to fight against these students. I accept it. But the question is, what do they need? Do they want to learn a little bit,
They
but they
really
don't
want to
want to
learn.
put too much energy into it, and don't want to look at the material one time during the week, which is, I think, essential. At least 5 minutes. They are not able to do it. So this is basically my problem, right? The motivation and what do you need? And I don't understand. Okay, but they are not really, at least the half of the class is not really into it, going into it. They're making German, okay, I have to. That's basically not enough.
Good.
That's true. Motivation is a huge factor in it. I mean, because you can send the most perfect goals and objectives and have a plan and have it laid out wonderfully for them. But if they don't want to, it's not, yeah, that's a whole other part of it. Yeah, absolutely, Peter. And with this client that you're talking about, which I know, yeah, we're dealing with a different demographic, a different age group. So it has its own challenges, but also its own interesting factors as well. Amy, you're also with this client. Do you have similar situations in your classes?
For me, it's like, this year I introduced, not introduced, like I gave them new assignments, like, every class, we have two classmates to present, to show us a presentation, why they choose Chinese.
Mhm.
Like every class, we have a reminder why you're here.
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
That is actually good. Starting
Yeah.
with like positiveness in the class. Yeah. Why do we
Mhm.
want to
Yeah.
be here? Let's remember.
Yes. So they just introduced me many things I have never visited in many places in China even.
Wow.
Like yeah. Some of them introduced me like attractions in China, or some new festival, but it's like
Yeah.
a music festival for them. Like yeah, new topics or some thoughts about Chinese business environment. It's very fascinating to listen to them. I think it's to
Sometimes we
tell.
can learn from our students too.
Yes,
A
definitely.
lot.
I would say for Peter that like I've been in that situation with TBS and young students and English, which is much easier. That's another thing that German is so, difficult also. I mean, so I would set really, really tangible goals for the like next day, like
Mhm.
this or that date. So they feel they leave with something that they really can, well, I'm sure that's what you do, but I
Yeah,
would
I
like
start that. Yeah,
just
yeah.
like basic, because
Yeah.
I think, well, as you know.
Yeah, and this is what you just said, Maura, is also related to these 5 steps that we always mention about our classes. I don't know if you can share
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
now, Nicole,
It's here. Yeah, this one.
because it's this thing of being a bit more specific about how we organize our class. So it's this thing, okay, so this is what we are going to be working on today. So we have this welcome, so make it more obvious to students. So because sometimes it's like we feel perhaps this is not necessary and we just want them to have an entertaining class, but it should be a bit more about other, being more specific about what the plan is, how we are going to do it, how we are going to get there, and what you're getting from this class. So so we have these 5 steps. You can later have a look at the details, but mainly telling them what is going to be done during this class, and then at the end of the class telling them what the takeaways are. So this is what we've learned today. So this is what we've worked on today. And at the beginning of the class, this is what we are going to be doing, and this is how we are going to be doing. And then there may be, perhaps you need to introduce new elements because perhaps they have questions, or there are things that come up during the class that make you change your plan a bit, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But it's great that they see where you're going and where they got at the end of the class, because that gives them a sense of achievement. And then in the next class, you kind of try and recuperate that and do a sort of recycling. So last class we did this, so recycle, just in case somebody missed the class also. And then again, this is a plan for today, and there we go again. And it's also so that gives them some sense also of reassurance. It's like, okay, so my teacher knows what he or she is doing, and
Can I say something about
there's
this?
a plan. Yes.
You
Yes,
know,
Maura.
I've tried to do this, and to tell you the truth, I don't have time in 1 hour for that. I mean, I
It's
started, so
it's only a
it's
few
like,
seconds.
but you get like you're on reflection, you could be 10 minutes. It's just, if it's a group and they start talking and really
Yeah, but
if I follow this, there's nothing left time for content. I feel.
that's
Usually go ahead.
sorry,
That's
Mara,
how I feel.
continue.
It's like usually I've tried, and I just jump right in, because if in 1 hour for a group class, I think this is for an hour and a half class or 2 hour class for 1 hour. I don't think Yes, it could be
I
two.
think it's important to understand, and I'm sure we all understand it, and we've all had this happen to us 1,000 times, that we can plan the most perfect class. And depending on them, they're really eager or they're not, it can go completely differently. But it is also essential to have that small conversation to recap, because it's basically you opening up the floor saying, does anybody have any questions? Is there something that you don't understand? Do we need to look at this again?
And they say
maybe
yes,
you
and you're
do.
there 20 minutes.
Yeah, but maybe you do. And if they
No,
do need
perhaps
that
you
help,
need that.
then that lesson needs to wait and we need to go back to this and give them more time for it. And that's okay. That is okay. I mean, the great thing about having our syllabus, whether it's pinpointed down to the point as to everything you're doing in each class, that it's flexible. And they will appreciate that and they will understand that. It's so much better to take the time to revise something and to open up the question, do you understand? Is there anything we need to look at again? Without that, nobody is going to admit it. And then it'll be a weakness that they carry for quite some time until they are able to look at it again. So it's, yes, it can completely, in a 1 hour class, there's not enough time to do anything. But it is an essential part, because sometimes we can easily just be so focused on going on to our next one that we haven't realized that some of them needed more time. So it is important. But you are right, Maro. Sometimes in an hour class, there's not enough time to do everything. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I feel like, that if I focus on this, then I'm not thinking about the
Yeah, but
content.
we can't go on to part B if we're not totally understanding part A sometimes. So it is
No, of course.
worth it to
Of course.
slow down sometimes if needed. Any other opinions on that? Do you sometimes find that you struggle to be able to fit everything into one lesson?
I think perhaps this has something to do with the level of different classes. If it's a low level, then, or it's a grammar class or whatever, then I agree. You know, it's very difficult. 1 hour is very short. But if it's a conversation level, I was looking at your screen, controlled practice versus free practice. Now, I should be controlled practice and free practice. First, you start with controlled, then semi-controlled, and then free.
Absolutely.
It's not against. They're both very, very important.
Well, I
People
think that the table is just explaining the difference, but you're absolutely right. It's a
No.
3-part process.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know, it's well, I don't know, but it's it depends what the class is about. If it's a grammar class, then the objectives and the goals are more specific. But if it's a conversation including grammar class, well, it's use of that grammar, correct use of the grammar, and that's where error correction comes in. So it's slightly different. I don't know. I think it depends on the level that you're teaching.
That's a
really.
good point.
Definitely.
But there we go. That's my opinion. You know.
Absolutely. So just the important part is, as we all know as experienced teachers, is that a structure to a class helps them understand start and finish and feel like they can take something away from the end of the class when we have our summary. And sometimes people like to use that just for corrections that they've noticed throughout the class, which is a common topic as well. Some students like to be corrected on the spot, some don't. So for the ones who don't, your summary at the end is a great opportunity to do that. Getting into a routine and a structure helps the students feel like there's stability and a plan in their course. Anybody else have any questions or like to approach their class organized differently, or no? Okay.
I have a little question.
Sure,
But
Amy.
it's because I teach in group class. I'm wondering if nowadays I can, because I normally give the assignments like they recording their talking according what we learned from the last class. So it's okay. I show their homework to everybody. Like, because it's sometimes they show their face or they show their voice. it's okay. I just showed, I wanted to correct them, like pronunciation or grammatically, but I'm not so sure if it's okay in public to correct them in
To
the
correct
class.
them on the spot if they make a correction.
Yeah, just like I want to review the homework, but this homework is normally like a recording. What they are
To put their recording on live
Yes.
with the video.
Oh, they already sent me that's the homework. I'm not so sure if nowadays in the classroom it's okay.
Ask them.
Yeah.
Ask them.
That could be tricky if it's a recording because it's somehow you're putting them on the spotlight, and perhaps it's something like it should be kind of a team agreement with your group. So you may discuss it and say, well, what do you feel? Because the other possibility would be just you watch those recordings and then during the class you just, without personalizing and without saying who said what, just say, well, I've noticed that there's this problem with this. And rather than showing the actual, but it's better that you discuss it with them.
Okay,
Because
if I want to correct them, I have to correct them one by one. It's like time consuming, but I don't want to leave the problem there either.
Or perhaps it's just you need to choose the mistakes or the issues that you find that are the most representative of the general problems, or the ones that you feel might be the most relevant, and just focus on those, and rather than every single error that you spot. And so perhaps that's something that could help.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always a difficult topic. Yeah. Nevi, you had your hand up.
I think if the students agree to share the video would be a really good lesson for the rest of the class, because we learn much easier when we see our mistakes in someone else. I do that a lot in my classes, but no recordings. I do just remind each other. And normally if I correct, I tell them, they always, oh, I'm sorry. I said, no, don't apologize. You don't need to. There is no need for, just repeat it after me. So, but I think we learn a lot by others' mistakes. So if they are okay with showing it.
But
Yeah, the question of
I don't think that could be really lower someone's self-esteem. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody takes it the same way. I wouldn't show the video. I would talk about their mistakes, but I wouldn't talk in general, like Chris says.
In general,
they are a different generation nowadays.
Yes,
the videos to them is
they're
their
used
lives,
to.
so it's very different, I think, for them compared to us, is my opinion.
Yeah, my students
TBS
normally
classes.
are in 18 years old and 19 years old. They're so young.
The self-esteem is very much lower than in our time. I remember classes with TBS in the pandemic time, and they had all the screen, the cameras shut off. I was talking with the black screen. So, and this shows a kind of mentality, not showing any mistakes, and
not even being present.
That's the thing. We have to show our vulnerabilities, because that's where we just become human, and that makes it easier, I think, to learn.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is something they have to encounter with their personal relationships, and we as teachers cannot do it, I think.
The question of mistakes is also something that you can, as you decide on the goals and objectives, you could also set certain rules, and that may change from one class to the other, and if it's a group or an individual class, and you may agree with your group or with your individual student. How do you want to go about correction? So is this something you feel comfortable if I correct you on the spot? Shall we discuss errors at the end of the class? Because it is also something quite cultural, and in general, Spanish students expect to be corrected. And this is something that perhaps in other cultures people may feel a bit intimidated if they are being corrected on the spot or not. So I think this is a good conversation to have with your students at the beginning of the class, as you also set your goals and objectives. So I encourage you to do that if you haven't yet, just in case, so that you feel comfortable and you know exactly what they are expecting.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I haven't yet. That's why I bring the topic here.
We
It's a
have
great-
only 5 minutes left. So we had a few other questions that we wanted to go through with
We
you.
did, but we kind of just started to talk about culture, so maybe that would be the good next topic too. Because
Great.
we talked a lot about learner-centered focus. We all were unanimously in agreement that when creating our contents and objectives and our goals, it needs to be student-based. So, but we just started to quickly touch upon the idea of intercultural competence, or including the idea of culture and these topics into our classes. I mean, how closely can we relate language and culture? So, do you think it is important to include these topics in your language courses? Do you? What do you do? Let's talk about it. Nevi, please.
I always do. And I always ask them the cultural differences, where have they lived, what do they know, what is in their culture, in my culture. Culture and age for me is one of the, when I finish the class, one of the questions, whatever we do, I say, okay, think about the culture, think about age difference, look at your children, look at you, at your childhood. So for me, age and culture is always present. And it makes them use also past and future and present, and make them think a lot about and create conversation and use words that they maybe don't easily do.
No, I agree totally, especially with the second point, body language. I mean, what do they say? It's 20% of communication comes out of your mouth. The rest is body language or how you say it. I don't know the percentage. Words as well, cultural taboos. Words come up, similar words. I'm not going to say any now because I feel embarrassed, but but words come up and you say, no, you cannot say this in England or America or wherever. So you need to delete that from your but the classroom is a safe place where you can explain this.
Definitely.
But it's really, really good because if you do come across these words, and they come up now and again, they're total taboos. Is that how you spell taboo, by the way?
Oh,
No,
maybe not.
there are some
Two B's there.
spelling mistakes there.
Just one thing.
Sorry.
Just want to see if we notice.
We're talking about error correction, I think,
I like the diccussions as well. That's a nice one.
Talking about.
Peter, what
Hi,
about
Vicky.
what about in your case with German?
In
Lots of
German,
different
we have
dialects and cultures there, and
yeah, it's different. They're totally different than Spanish culture, a little bit closer to the English culture, and totally different than to the American culture. We still have the formal version, like in Colombia and the Latin American Spanish, they use usted.
Yeah.
We use it a lot, but it's diminishing. And the language is changing too, because many people don't use the different articles. We have 3 genders in German, like in English, but there are so much immigration, and these immigrants are working now as bus drivers. Almost all bus drivers are foreigners. Nobody talks well German. Even the Germans don't talk German well anymore. We have only 3 cases or 2 cases instead of 4 in my time. So everything is
Incredible.
changing into a more common way, like in English in the time of the French request after William the Conqueror. So the people were left with their English and made it easy. But the culture itself is very mental culture. It's much less emotional. And to explain this is almost impossible until you really talk to Germans. but for example, in the Latin countries like here, you use the view, your eyes to communicate very much, right? In German, it's more like a feeling you get scanned. So they're scanning you. What kind of person are you? This
Like
is
a cat.
when you come to Germany. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
Mhm.
Well, it would be great to continue to discuss this, but unfortunately we run out of time. We are going to have more sessions like this. There's another in November. I don't remember when exactly we have it in November, but you will get a reminder. So thank you very much for joining. It's been great having you here today. And
Thank you very much, Sue.
we are going to upload this session, and all these sessions are going to be uploaded in the Plaza in case you can't join any of them
I
in the
want to
next few
talk to
months.
somebody or to all you guys from BBI. I have a little thing to say about something specific.
All right, so I'm going to stop recording the session. Okay, so thank you everyone, and hope you all have a great weekend.
You too.